What's going on, guys? This is Mike Felker from Convictions. You're listening to the KingdomCore Podcast.
Hey guys, it's Sean here. Just a quick little word before we get into the second episode of the KingdomCore Podcast. We had a great time interviewing Mike Felker from the band Convictions. We had an awesome time talking to them about their new EP, I Won't Survive, which you can find on all streaming services. You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and then on Instagram at Convictions Rock. We had a great time talking about mental health, about what it means to be a Christian band. We're just so excited for you guys to hear this. Convictions has been such an important band to me personally, not just musically, but in my own life, as I mentioned in the previous episode, that they were the biggest supporter of KingdomCore when I first began it, and it would not be what it is today without their help and their support and their belief in it. So big shout out to Convictions for coming on and being on the show.
Absolutely. It was such a good conversation. And thank you guys so much again for all the support you've shown for the podcast in just our first episode. We're so excited to be able to continue doing this and to start talking to members of bands. If you guys are listening, it would be so awesome to, depending on where you are, Spotify, Apple Music, or any of the other places, if you want to give us a rating, that would actually be a huge help to the podcast. It'd help us get out there to more people to be able to hear this stuff. Yeah. And hopefully maybe some new fans will discover Convictions because they are amazing.
100%.
You guys can follow us on social media, mainly on Instagram. You can follow Sean at kingdom.core, and you can follow me at @4.the.rock.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to Chris's channel below for The Rock. And then also make sure to like this video, leave a comment on it if you liked it. If you're leaving a rating on like Apple or Spotify, make sure to give us 5 stars, leave a comment. That might make someone check it out who wouldn't have checked it out without that review or without those 5-star ratings. So we really appreciate your support.
Absolutely. All right, let's hop into our interview with Mike from Convictions.
It was definitely a big challenge because they're not our personal stories. Like, it'd be one thing to, write about myself and, I don't need to worry about like hurting my feelings or, or letting myself down. But when it's, someone else's real life, struggle and story, I think there was a lot more pressure to try and tell their story accurately and, with good intentions and heart. So yeah, it was very hard for sure.
Then there's probably also that added pressure of like the people who you're writing about it. Do they know that you guys are writing a song about them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's probably that added pressure of, I have to do this justice on their behalf. Right.
Yeah, it was definitely it was really challenging. I don't know how else to word it because, we had these close friends and they're sharing their stories with us. And that's one thing, like to kind of let down their wall and, like talk about the war, or something like that. And then that's another to be like, hey, can I tell the world, and it's like, woo, it was a lot. Yeah.
Right. What do people typically say when you guys like ask them, hey, can we write the song about you?
Well, this is the first time we've really ever done that with this record, okay. I think. But everybody was really on board from what I can remember. I can't really think of any issues we had. Everybody was really open-hearted and welcoming for us jumping on this. So it was really cool.
Yeah, sweet. Is this kind of a style of writing that you guys are going to carry on forward, or are you going to go back to kind of doing more like maybe like personal stories for you guys?
I think so. Right now we're in the process of writing again, so we're getting ready to go back in the studio like a month from now. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, no pressure. And I'm at that weird crossroad where it's like, okay, if I do write a story, about someone else again, am I going to get backlash like, oh, they're going to be a one-trick pony kind of thing? But I don't know. I just can't really think of anything like close to home that I can really write about that's going to have that same impact. And I think that's what we want. Like, we want to reach people at that personal level instead of writing like a broad stroked theme, which I would love to do. It'd be fun and I guess a lot less pressure. But with the reaction that we've had with this new record, I think it's kind of like revealed to us like why we're making the music we are and why we, want to make music, and it's to reach people and to, share the gospel, of course. And it's just this weird crossroad. It's like, can I still be artistic and abstract and maybe secular, but also I need to have like a mission, and a mission statement. So I got to like merge them. So it's been very challenging. You caught me at a vulnerable point in time here.
So, based off that, like, because you guys, let's see, Hurricane came out like almost 2 years before I Won't Survive came out. So when you guys recorded Hurricane, did you guys just record that and then you waited a little bit to start recording the rest of I Won't Survive? Or did the pandemic play a part in the delay, I guess?
All the above. Like we wrote Hurricane. It was kind of an accident, being that it tied in conceptually with the record, because we didn't really have like a full length or an EP or anything in mind. It was just a one-off.
Okay.
At the time, we were with In Vogue, and we were pitched the idea of working with Andrew Wade, and it was just kind of a one-off just to see, how this is going to go, how we feel about working with somebody new, and we wanted to kind of fill that timeline between like Hope for the Broken and what we'll have in the future. And we just got Dan, so it was like, let's just put out a single, see what happens. But I think we kind of not to stroke my ego here, but I think we kind of struck gold on the way we approached writing that song, and conceptually and everything. It just all kind of fell into place, and that kind of propelled what would become I Won't Survive with the concept.
Yeah, was that a huge switch in writing style and just the sound, adding Daniel into the band?
Massive. And I know that's a cliche thing for, an artist to be like, we did our best work, or like, but like, it really was like when working with Andrew, it was, we all like grew so much in such a short amount of time. Especially like me as a writer. I just remember sitting in the studio way longer than I expected before we even touched an instrument, just sitting there going over each lyric bar, each word, making sure that this is what we want to say and how to say it. And I was like, wow, this is really taking a long time, but this is a good thing.
So you talked a little bit about like how Daniel joined the band, and that caused a massive shift in the way you guys approached writing music. You talked a little bit about like the process of finding Daniel, how he joined the band, because I know you guys had a fill-in or two before you found Daniel. So like, how did you guys find him, and how did he join the band? Yeah,
Dan was a friend of ours, like long before John had even considered stepping down for his health reasons. Dan he's a photographer, and he was shooting us while anytime we'd pass through Arizona, he would usually show up to our shows and shoot us, and him and I kind of developed a friendship, and we'd communicate, like, hey man, I'm going to be at this date, are you going to be there? And he shot us, and he would scream. It's so funny. Like, you can find old videos of us playing live in Arizona, and you'll see Dan in the crowd, like, singing along. And lo and behold, he joined the band.
Look those up.
So we knew him from touring, and he actually did a tour with us when we were out with Volumes, and he shot us. And it was just like kind of that in that period, we found out like he was doing YouTube covers, and we were able to like learn about him more and what he does. And that was just kind of an early indicator that he might be like perfect for us because we're friends. He understands the band, very talented, and hope that answered that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to talk to you about your personal journey on how you got into the metal and hardcore scene. Did you grow up in it? I'm pretty sure I heard an interview with you recently where you grew up more in the secular hardcore scene and you weren't really too familiar with the Christian scene. So maybe just talk a little bit about your personal journey on how you got into the Christian metal scene.
Yeah, I still kind of am like more involved. I don't want to say involved, but like set in like the secular like metal scene. Like it's not that I don't like Christian bands or anything. It's just we're kind of like a dying breed now, it feels like. So for me to find one that I actually like have a strong connection with, it's pretty hard. I can only count like on my hand, like how many that I have that connection with. But like it's always kind of been like that. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, and so like it wasn't until my later teen years when my dad and I started going to church together to where he started pointing out some Christian bands at the time and pitching them to me, and I thought it was kind of a joke. Like I was like, back then it was like As Lay Dying and Norma Jean, and I loved how they sounded, but I just thought the idea of like the lyrics being like friendly and positive was like so corny. I was like, runs and daisies, and I was like, but I didn't understand. I didn't understand, so like I would spend all this time like going back and forth between like the bands that I love, and I still do like Slipknot and like a lot of new metal bands, and then like, but I really like how those bands are, and then it kind of became this like counterculture, almost like punk rock way of thinking, where it's like instead of being all doom and gloom, I could go against that and be positive and try and like have a bright outlook. And so I think that like kept forcing me back to like Norma Jean, As Lay Dying, Haste Today, some of those earlier bands. And so like that, I think that was kind of the big shift into the way I view like lyricisms and like the message behind the music. And so that was just kind of like an early gateway, I think, for me. And that was like 2004, maybe.
So you found metal in 2004 and you got into it. When did you start screaming? Were you in any bands before Convictions? Because you weren't Convictions' first heavy vocalist. So
right.
Like, how did you join Convictions?
Okay.
Take it way back.
I'm like, okay. So I was listening to heavy music like from a really early age, but it wasn't like aggressive metal until I was like probably like in junior high, maybe 6th grade. Okay. But I found out I could scream accidentally with my brother, who I'm still very close with. Like I live with him, and we bond over bands like daily. But we were freestyle rapping in my my bedroom used to be in a basement, so like we could like listen to music as loud as we want all night, and we just goof off. And I was freestyle rapping with him, and I must have been like really excited or something because I shouted, but it was like a deep, resonated, like from the wells of inside of me or something. It was just this big, brassy burst of volume and power, and I was like, "Whoa! Like, what was that?" And like, we just kind of like looked at each other, and I was like, "Holy cow! I think I can scream or something." Because him and I, like, we were listening to Slipknot like religiously back then. And he was a drummer, so like I already kind of had ideas of like maybe getting involved with music, but I can't play anything, and still to this day. But when I figured out I could throw my voice, I was like, okay, that's a start. And then him and I ended up making a band, and we were called Tantrum, right from the get-go. That was our name. And from there, that name wasn't cool enough, so we took band names that we liked and kind of like fused them together to make a new band. Called As It Fades. So we took As from As Lay Dying, and then It from It Dies Today, and then Fades was just a cool word that we found in the dictionary. So As It Fades was our band name. And I was in that band for a while. I want to say it wasn't until like I was like in my senior year to where that fell apart. But in that period of like throughout high school, like freshman year to senior, we were playing shows in the local area, and Zach, our drummer Zach, he had a band at the time called Run Into the Shadows, and we would play shows every now and then together. It was like a pop punk band, so like we didn't really get along. But we were playing like his family would do like a festival on their farm, and we played that one year. I remember it was like it was a big turnout. It was awesome. I think that was when we started like becoming friends. And I eventually tried out for his band after I graduated, and they didn't pick me. Thanks, Zach. So they got Dan Gardner, which is Conviction's old vocalist. They chose him over me, and then lo and behold, Dan ended up leaving, and then I came back, and then it became Convictions. That's kind of like a short way of telling our story of how we mingled. But it's just funny how it all worked out. I'll still give Zach crap for it. I'll be like, remember that time you kicked me out of your band, and here I am again? Like, So
it can't escape me.
That's right. We're born for each other.
So when you were talking about kind of jamming out in high school, was that kind of around the time that you were coming to faith?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Like my dad and I would go to church, like here and there, and I was definitely like interested in it, but I didn't really like understand like Jesus or like where he played into like God. So there was a lot of back and forth with how I felt about it, and I think it was a lot of the allure of like the church culture. Like I was just like, these people dress really nice, they all seem very happy, wealthy, like they got their lives together, so that's appealing. Like it really is, and maybe I should pay attention more and try to be a good person. But I didn't really understand like what it really was all about, and what it meant to be Christian. And so when I was 19, I decided then and there I am agnostic. I don't believe in God. I had gone through a bad breakup, and it was like me trying to take control of my life, and it was a bad period of my life. And at that point, I had gone through some suicidal tendencies and identity crisis moments, and to me, it was like nothing else would work. So the idea of maybe asking God for help and to show up in my life if I don't believe him, but like, what do I have to lose if I ask him to show up and, help me? And I like in hindsight, looking back, I think he was trying to say like, if you just give me a shot, or if you just let me in, I'll show you things you've never seen before. And it turned out to be very powerful, because I would shortly later find convictions, and my dreams of being a musician and all that would unfold. I mean, it wasn't, a magical, moment like on the spot. It took years of work, but I think that was kind of like the driving force to why I want to tour and meet people and show them like, that there is hope and faith, and that God can show up in their lives and help guide them. And that's enough for me,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow, amen. That's awesome, dude. So convictions, you guys are very outspoken about your faith. Definitely one of the most, if not the most outspoken about your faith in the Christian scene. You guys are very vocal about being a Christian band. So I just wanted to get your thoughts, or I guess your philosophy on what it means to be a Christian band.
Well, everybody, I feel like every band does it different that claims, to be a Christian band, or Christian members in a band, which I don't really understand. But like I'm definitely not knocking any other artists, for what they do. But I guess for us, like, it's the cornerstone of why we're a band, and for us to forget it, like if we, let's say, have a stroke of success and we're, on this higher plane, and then to ditch God who got us there, that would be such a big disservice. And we can never do that. Like, that's just like, I wouldn't want to get popular for being a Christian band and then just drop it, So it's like, if we lose our faith and we lose the band, like, we'll just not be Convictions anymore, which we're not going to lose our faith. But it's just kind of like that all or nothing kind of mindset, I think. And I think with today's audience, if you even have like slightly Christian lyrics, people are going to find out, and they're going to be like, I think they might be, are they? And it's just like, why hide it? So we are what we are. Like, there's I don't think there's any shame in that. And I'd like to encourage other artists, like, if this is whatever it is you believe, like, own it. And I think people will respect you more for that.
Definitely. That's awesome, dude. So kind of going back to I Won't Survive and the theme of faith and Christianity, like, what's a new listener listening to I Won't Survive, what is the main takeaway? What is the main message that you want them to get from listening?
I think hope. That's the big one. We're talking about moments of crisis and tribulation and sacrifice, or suicide, whatever it is. Like, we're talking about these like terrible crisis moments, but it would be easy for you just to focus on that. Like, this is so dark and terrible in ways it is, but we always, in each song, like we do try to show that like light at the end of the tunnel, or like somewhat of hope, or at least I'd love the audience to say, like, this is me, like, I've been in this, I'm not alone. Like, that's great, that's what I hope for. Like, especially somebody that's like struggling like with suicide or grief. You know, they can see like I'm not the only one that has these problems or thoughts. I can get through this, and that's a powerful thing, I think.
That's awesome. And it's so cool to see just like your fan. I feel like Convictions, you almost have like a small cult following. Like your guys' fans are absolutely like obsessed with you guys, and for good reason. You guys have personally impacted my life. Just you guys as people, and your music has personally impacted my life. It's really cool to see you guys getting the attention you deserve. I know when you guys released The Price of Grace as the first single, that really blew up on Spotify, on like YouTube reactions. Could you kind of talk about like, could you talk about that?
Yeah, that was really like, it was a big moment for me and for the rest of us. Like every day, like we were checking YouTube and I was watching your videos, and like you were the fastest one too. Like I remember like it was like the moment the record dropped, you were the first one. I was just constantly like refreshing. It was so cool to see that.
Yeah, there's specific videos that specific bands and songs that are dropping. And I'm just like, I'll just wait until midnight, or technically only 9 o'clock our time.
You're fast. You're so
Get
fast.
ahead on it.
I guess I could go along with what you said. It was funny because when I just left my mom's, I was like, I have to say thank you to these guys because you guys have pushed our band so hard, and like that's more than like any paid advertisement or article in a magazine or blog. Like it's real people. You guys are real people. Like you're sharing your feelings and you're reaching an organic audience. Like from a marketing standpoint, like that's more than we could ask for. But like on a personal level, like it means so much. Like seeing your guys' like authentic reactions, whether they're good or bad, like that means so much to us. This whole experience is pretty crazy because going back to the subject matter and stuff like that, it's like I feel almost guilty to be excited about, people. Like what it's about, and people like,
right.
And being like, yeah, like we're doing it, but it's like, believe me, like we are, like we're stoked. We're like, yes, like this is great, but it's bigger than us, and I'm trying to humble myself and remove myself from taking credit for that. It's like it's about sharing stories and spreading a really important message. So I feel very fulfilled. Like this is exactly what we tended to do, and it's bigger than us. It's crazy.
Yeah, and with that being said, I kind of have to give you guys a little bit of an apology because I feel like a couple of the times in those reactions, kind of like looking at the lyrics of the song or something, it's weird. Just in the last few months, I've kind of I guess technically grown in a certain way, but I feel like I was stuck in a mindset of like, oh, this is so dark, and it's like there is a little bit of hope in it, but I'm like, oh, like they're all so dark. And just seeing everybody's reactions now, and just all the comments online, seeing how much of an impact it does have, and especially when you guys do your live shows and like talking with the fans and doing all that, there's that whole side of it that you don't just see necessarily in the music, even though you guys do have that in the music. But yeah, I think I was just so stuck in like, I'm like, I don't really relate on this specific topic because like I haven't had like suicidal thoughts or this or that. But like going back to your album I Will Become, I remember when that came out and the song House of Lies, the first time I heard that, like I feel like that's probably one of the songs I connected with most with you guys, because like I many years struggled with pornography, and just the hearing that song, there was something that hit me like so deep, and that is the same kind of thing that's happening with these new songs for other people. So yeah, I just love what you guys are doing and dealing with those hard, difficult subjects. Because I can't be the person to talk about a lot of that stuff myself. So
no, thank you for that. And I can relate to you too. Like we have a song called Last Cell on the record. And it's about like a father who's like a friend of ours, but who's dealing with like a certain type of cancer, and he's leaving his daughter behind, and it's just the whole. It's almost like him writing a letter to his daughter before surgery. Like, I can't really say I'm not a father, I don't have a daughter, or anything like that, but I've seen the way it affects me. Like my brother, he has a daughter, and the way it made him feel emotional, like that struck me personally. Like, I'm not like, because I could feel for him. It's close to home, and so I was like, wow, like having empathy for someone else with a situation that I can't relate to still somehow hit me in a personal way. Really cool.
That's awesome, dude. So when I first heard The Price of Grace, one of my initial thoughts was, how are they going to perform this live? Like, I would almost feel disrespectful, like, moshing to this. Like, as moshable as this song is, like, this song screams to be, like, circle pitted to, Wall of Death. But, like, it's just it's so serious, it's so emotional. Like, I don't think there was a single dry eye on anybody's first listen to this song. Like, are you guys... if this is a surprise, you don't have to say it, but like, are you guys planning on playing the voice message when you guys play it live? Like, could you kind of take us through that a bit?
Yeah, I think that'll be a part of the song or the live performance. But yeah, you definitely struck an interesting topic that I've been thinking about a lot, and I feel like I'm gonna have to give a disclaimer or something like before we play, like, this is okay. Like, you've been given the green light. Like, you can enjoy the song. Like, the people that we wrote the songs for greenlit these songs to be written in the first place. So they do want them to be enjoyed. So it's you can have a guilt-free experience if you're just throwing down and enjoying the music. Like, that's what it's about. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, we've always been like really emotional when we perform, and we try to like play heavy music with intent. So people dance or enjoy it, like, that's fantastic. Like, I don't think there'd be anybody there that would be aware of like the content and throwing down, but having like malicious, like, like pain and sorrow. It wouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I guess when you guys put pre-orders up and you announced the album, so there was some online chatter about like, I won't survive. Like what does this mean? Because that's not typical. Some people were saying that's not typically like. I guess that kind of speaks to what Chris said about how some people who haven't had suicidal thoughts or been affected by suicide might not understand that. There might be other people who, there's like the Christian circle that kind of is, I don't want to say fake, but they pretend like they have it all together. They have their own perfect life. So when they hear, I won't survive, there's almost a sense of judgment from those people. Like, could you take us through what I Won't Survive means, what the mindset was when you guys came up with that?
Yeah, you're bringing some really good questions. I'm impressed for all, like, because that's you're thinking the way I was thinking too. Because when we were coming up with the record name, I knew I wanted the word "survive" to be a part of the title because of we're telling survival stories, so I was like, maybe call it survival stories, but like maybe that's too on the nose. And so there was a lot of back and forth. Particularly, I remember Josh and I going back and forth a lot. I was like, well, I want it to have a positive spin. Should it be like artsy fartsy, like some big quote or some like poetic thing? And we're like, well, no, like something like that. And then it was like, okay, I won't survive. I remember Josh was really sold on that, and I was like, I had reservations. I was like, I'm not sure about that. I don't want to give power to a lie of the enemy. And he was like, that's a really good point. But looking over the whole conceptual piece of the record, each song is written in a snapshot moment of when the character reaches that turning point in their story, in their life. And we wanted to highlight that. So each song is about their biggest struggle in that pit. And so they may be telling themselves, I won't survive. And so that's what it's about. So you might think like, okay, like, yeah, they won't survive, but they will. You just have to like dig into it more. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, not to oversimplify it, but like one thing that like we really like doing in Convictions is challenging the Christian audience. And so like we have things like the inverted cross on some of our merchandise, and there's even like imagery of like the occult and things like that might provoke the Christian audience, but that's good. That's what we want. We want to bring something to the table instead of just playing like Sunshine and Daisy songs and everything is good and peachy, like you said.
Yeah.
We don't, there's real people that are struggling in their faith or their lives, and they can't relate to, the acoustic guitar and Sunshine and Daisies at church. It's just not enough. Like maybe they need to relate to somebody or a story, and hopefully find that Jesus is right there in the midst of their troubles.
Amen.
So that's like a really long way of describing it, but like I think awesome, it's about the snapshot of where they're at in their struggle and how they overcame it. So they were saying, "I won't survive."
Wow. Are you going to show him your vinyl?
Oh, sure. I've got here it is. Here we go.
Oh, it's probably too blurry.
It's probably too. It's I won't survive. Just trust me.
Okay. That's all black square. Yeah, I got something I can show you too.
I knew it. Yeah. Hey, look, I got it right here on my wall.
That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, I seen it.
So we wanted to start a little segment that we wanted to ask like every band that comes on here.
Yeah.
And we're going to call it A Decade Ago. If you could pick, I guess it doesn't have to be your favorite thing, but something off the top of your head, something that impacted you from the Christian rock or metal scene from a decade ago, so 2011. Is there something that comes to mind? I guess you might have just held it, but...
Is that when it came out?
Yeah.
It came out in 2011.
It did, yeah. Well, then I guess this will be it, because
So tell the listeners who aren't watching on YouTube what it is.
Sure. This is a band called Hands, which they're not a band anymore, but they're like the same members in another band, right? Everything in slow motion.
Shane, the same vocalist.
Yeah.
I don't listen to that band yet, but they might be good. But sorry, Hands. This is what it's all about. Hands right here. This is what you want. Forget that band. This band, no. But actually, funny little tidbit. The singer of Hands was almost on "I Will Become." We were like this.
Oh wow!
Wait, really? That would have been so cool.
I know. It was. I don't know why it didn't work out, but we were talking to him, and we were so. I can't even tell you what song it was going to be. Maybe like Glaciers or something. I can't remember. But
Ooh.
he was. Yeah, it was. We were so close. But this record right here inspired. I think it inspired Conviction's first release, "I Am Nothing," because they're very similar, and they're like the DNA of this band is in Convictions. The raw, clanky, stripped down sound. This is like a really influential record for Convictions. I didn't listen to this record in 2011, so it's kind of tough to go along with your. This is why I didn't really think of it.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I found this record probably around like 2014 or something like that. Like maybe 15, probably 2015. But that was when I joined Convictions. So it was like I found this record when I was joining Convictions around 2013, 2014. So highly recommend. It's very straight to the.
It's an amazing album.
Give Me Rest is so good. What is your, if you had to choose one, do you have a favorite track off Give Me Rest?
Give Me Rest. That song itself is really, really impactful for me. The lyric, I recite it in my prayers a lot. Give me the strength to move mountains. Help me become a better man. Help me to understand your truth. Something I may have said out of order. I don't know, but that bar in itself like makes me want to tear up because there's moments that, like where I'm struggling and I'll just be real with God and I'll just like help me like. So yeah, that very powerful record. I can't recommend that one enough.
Awesome.
Do you think that line that you just quoted almost had an impact on the song "I Will Become"? Because it almost has a similar like heart cry as what you just quoted.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought of it like that.
Maybe subliminally, subconsciously.
Yeah, maybe. the idea of this song, I Will Become, was already in my mind for a long time, at least 2012.
Oh, wow.
Because there was a moment where I spoke with my dad, and I was like, Dad, I'm going to join a Christian band. And he wasn't, I thought he'd be excited about it because he was taking me to church at the time. But he wasn't. He was really like not excited about it. He's like, if you're going to be in a band like that, then you basically need to become like a man of God. You need to become like a better, you need to walk the walk, basically. Like, you can't just claim it. And I remember sitting in his driveway, and I was like, I will. Like, I'm determined to be in this band. I'm determined to turn my life in this direction. I will become blank. And then just the phrase, I will become, stuck with me. So it had been in my heart for a while, and I can't really say, maybe subliminally, yeah, but I don't, it wasn't intentional.
That's so cool. Chris, did you want to ask your question about teeth?
Yeah. Did you guys like fully plan ahead to release something as stupidly as heavy as Teeth?
Yes.
You guys like set out in the studio, let's just write the heaviest song ever?
Yeah. No, literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy in hindsight, because I'm like, we could be so much heavier, and we plan on that. But it was just kind of like let's just be as ridiculous as we can. I think Josh, he played a bass guitar as a guitar. Like, I think they plugged into a guitar amp at one point.
Okay.
I think that's why he
got it.
I don't know all the secrets.
It definitely has a really chunky sound, like a little bit more than the other songs.
Yeah, I can't really go into production and all that nerdy gear stuff, but
Yeah.
I know that we were playing around with just being as heavy as we ever really wanted to be, and it was a lot of fun.
Love it.
Uh,
Do you have a personal favorite on I Won't Survive?
The Price of Grace. Yeah. That was the last song I recorded. So for me, it was like, and I had spent all of COVID and, you know, like all this time, like off the road, trying to learn new skills vocally. And I had the most time with that song to write. So when I went in to record it, it was like, I am the most prepared as I can be. Like, if I were to show somebody our band for the first time, it would probably be that song today. But that can always change.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of that one. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to make more songs that sound like that.
Could you, for listeners who may not have heard the backstory about it, could you maybe just give the backstory of what The Price of Grace is about?
Yeah. So The Price of Grace is about two friends of ours, a guy named CJ and a guy named Travis. CJ and I became friends 2015, maybe. He had came out to see us in Texas at a festival, and we hit it off right away. And then he was seeing us like all over the country. It was like New York, Florida, South Carolina, and all the while he was bringing his friend Travis. And Travis really wasn't a metal fan at first, so everything was kind of new to him. It was pretty funny to watch. Like, I mean, I'm sure you guys go to shows and you see somebody that has no idea what's going on, and they're just kind of like,
"Oh yeah,
what is like? Oh my god!"
Make sure you stay this far back from the mosh pit.
Yeah.
I feel like
why is he yelling at me?
It was really cool though, because it was like a metalhead bringing his metalhead friend, and just kind of watching them bond over our band. It was really cool to see that. Yeah, CJ and I, we still keep in touch, and it's just crazy. I remember, I think the last time I seen them together was in Florida. I want to say we were like eating pizza or something. I don't know, maybe less than a year later, I'm home from tour, and I was only home for like a week. And CJ had called me, and he told me that Travis took his life. And it took me off guard. Like, Travis is like tall, handsome, strong kind of guy, really quiet. You'd think somebody like that has probably got it all together, and that they got nothing to worry about, but it took me off guard, and I had never really had anybody like in my direct circle of like family or friends, hurt themselves, take their life. it was tough because it's like I gotta go back on the road and I gotta like be cool, I gotta do my job, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And I don't know, it's just like, what do you do? And so like all I knew to do was just to share the story. And so I started stopping between in our set. We'll perform our songs, and about halfway through, I like to talk to the audience and just have like a heart to heart about something real, And and I was sharing their story, and I knew it was important, and I knew a lot of people deal with those issues, but the response was very overwhelming. We had lots of people stopping us after the show, and I remember like sitting with a lot of guys and hearing their stories, and you just kind of realize like this is so much bigger than me. This is like really important. And so with like a lot of careful consideration, just thinking maybe we should write about this. And so I asked CJ, and asked if he was willing to go over whatever he was comfortable with, and he went into full detail, like how, when, why, the big touchy stuff. And I mean, all these songs, people were very open and went way above and beyond with the details. It was very challenging just to tell that story, and we wanted to tell it chronologically. When CJ found out what had happened, he was in his dorm room in college, and he received his call, and so that's when we start the song. We start it right from when he received the news. So he's circling the room, so circles through circles, I'm spiraling around the room. Him receiving the news, and then we tell the story all throughout the song. It's the 5 stages of grief. So it's denial and shock, anger, grief, whatever.
Wow.
So we go through his journey of the 5 stages of grief until at the end it's the acceptance. And so he comes to terms that he'll see him on the other side, and that he'll carry his memory. And one of the details he was telling me was how they had planned to move in, that their families were going to move into the same neighborhood, and their families would grow up together. And so that was kind of like, you said, we'd grow all together. So every little word and every little thing like has a backstory behind it. So having the time throughout the pandemic to really, focus on it, dive into it, was such a big thing because there was so much to take in. And hearing it back, like I feel like we wouldn't change any word, like down to like the if, ands, and buts. Like it's all intentional. And I think that one really hits home for me.
Wow. And actually, just going back to what we were talking about earlier about like kind of relating to these lyrics, just kind of reminded me, this person will remain nameless just for the sake of, I don't know their family or anything, but we had, I got a message from somebody's father from the scene of, we had like a local hardcore scene. I mean, it's kind of died out in the last 5 years, but there was one guy who was really trying to keep it alive here, and he had a really great band. I got to do some photography for them, and he was a really big advocate. He wasn't a Christian as far as I know, but when he would talk to me, he definitely seemed open, and he was very accepting of me, like online talking about my beliefs all the time, like on Facebook or whatever. But we weren't really like close friends or anything. But I got a message from this guy's father, and I was very confused at first. And after reading the email, he ended up taking his life. And I think that was, hearing this song now, it's not the same context, so I wasn't as close with him as CJ and Travis were. But it definitely hits home a bit more and brings everything into a new light. And it's definitely made me think about, just those kind of things like, what could I have done something more? Like, I remember it was before COVID or just after COVID hit. And I said I was going to get off Facebook because it was just, like, everything was just so toxic.
Right.
And I was just like, I'm kind of done with looking at this. And he messaged me and he's like, dude, like, he's like, oh, don't go. He's like, you're like one of the only positive people that I see on on here.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked a bit about that. I ended up getting off Facebook anyways, but that was the last I heard from him. I tried messaging him and he wouldn't reply, and it's crazy. Yeah, it just how much more, even with somebody that you're not that close with.
Yeah,
just kind of thinking about faith, life, and all this stuff. It's crazy. So yeah, thanks for writing this song. I think it's I can only imagine for people who have gone through stuff like these guys being that close. I definitely can see it helping them a lot come to terms with stuff.
Yeah, I think it opens a different, like, having a different perspective on it too, like to see what pain you may cause, like people you love and care about, opens a lot of conversation and shows it in a different light too. That you might hear that on like a hotline or some specialist will say, like, think of the ones you love, maybe a sign on a bridge or something, think of the ones you love. And maybe that could save a life or something. And just having opening that discussion, I think, is really important, even for people like me or you that, may not have it in our direct circle, but like talking about it, like, I feel like that's like a lie, maybe from the enemy or something, where it's like, what are you doing? What do you have to do with this? Like, you're not, but it's you're doing more good than you think,
For sure.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, dude. So, I guess for someone, let's say someone hasn't heard I Won't Survive yet, what do you want the main takeaway to be? If there's like one thing you don't want someone missing when they listen to it for the first time, what would that one thing be?
Man.
Not to put me on the spot.
Yeah, well, I kind of I want to lean back on the relatability thing, like finding maybe your own personal struggle, and relating to it in one of these songs. Maybe somebody that doesn't like metal, like I've had some coworkers and stuff listen to it, and I'm like, I know it's angry, I know it's upsetting, but there's good in this. Please, look for it. Like maybe that. It's just like how you look at it, I guess, and who would be listening. But I feel like God's working in all of our lives, and you could. I hope they can see it even at their lowest points in these songs.
Absolutely.
To wrap up, I would just want to ask you, Mike, what would you say to someone who is struggling right now, who they're going through the darkest time of their life? They might even be contemplating suicide. What would you say to them in this moment? Man,
okay. I think the most important thing is just knowing that you're loved, that you're valued, even if you don't know it. More people love and care about you and need you here than you know. And the impact and power that you alone have is more than you may ever know. So hold on to that if you're feeling low in value, and know that you're loved, know that that you matter, and that people love you, and that there is a God that loves you, whether you accept that or not. There's people that believe it, like myself. Yeah, keep being awesome. Don't give up. You're awesome. You're loved.
That was good. That was great. So, Mike, we just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on here. It's been a blast having you. We've had a great time chatting with you. Chris, any final words?
Yeah, no, just thank you, dude. It's nice to meet you and get to talk with you. And yeah, absolutely appreciate you coming on here and spending your time to talk with us.
No, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. And I feel like I'm talking to a YouTube video right now because I watch all your videos. And I'm watching a YouTube video, but I'm talking to it. It's trippy.
Yeah.
And, same thing with KingdomCore. Like I see your guys' posts every day, and seeing what you guys contribute to the scene. I don't know if it's just you, Sean, or maybe others.
Yeah, it's just me.
Okay, well, you make yourself look like 1,000 because you're all over.
Wow, thank you. I try.
Really, it looks like you got a whole team behind you, and maybe one day you will. But thank you for on it. Like, you guys are really putting in a lot of work, and it's noticed, And I know, like, me speaking for Convictions, like, you guys have done more for us than, like, I think any vlog or magazine article could. So thank you guys.
Wow, thank you for that. And just right back at you guys. Like, when I started Aggressive Worshippers, gosh, 3.5 years ago now, I met you guys at a show literally like 2 weeks after I had started it. And the fact that you guys like believed in it so much and were just so on board with the idea, like that really kept me pushing. And then there was the whole name change, and when we switched over and became KingdomCore, and it was just, you guys were the biggest supporters in the scene from day one. And like, I really, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you and the other members, because it would not be what it is today if it wasn't for your guys' constant love and support. And I truly mean that.
Man, that's incredible. We're in it together, man. Like, it's a small group of us, and I feel like we all have the same goal in mind, and we're like-minded. So to support each other is like crucial, and we need you as much as you need music like us and others. So more than happy to help and be a part of what you guys are doing. You guys are amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Really encouraging.